Well, today we've got all things Snugpak. It's the full hammock range, and I'll show you what they are now, which include the hammock itself, the hammock under blanket, the top quilt, and the hammock cocoon. Now, the hammock itself and the cocoon I've had for a bit, well over a year and a half, I should imagine. So I'm just finishing off the kit. It's -2.5 Celsius, and I'm not out for the night. This is the third day I've been out just trying to set this up, so we'll have a go. Okay, the light isn't very good here. I'm just going to quickly go through the pack weights. Hammock under blanket, 1 kilo 450, that's 51 ounces. Top blanket, let's see what they're calling this, hammock quilt. They're giving us 1100 grams, 1.1 kilos or 39 ounces. Now the cocoon is the largest stuff sack, and probably, it's not too bad though, it's about as big as a big sleeping bag. And here we're looking at 1950 grams at 69 ounces. Now they all contain the same travel loft and properties, which if we've got time we'll look at after. And of course we have the Snugpak Tropical, which does not have the bug net because I have the Snugpak Cocoon instead. This is simple to put up. I'm going to start with the hammock straps. These aren't by Snugpak, but we're going to work with these. Now typically the Snugpak Cocoon would go on last, going around your under blanket if you're going to use them as a combination. But I did that yesterday, and I'll show you that a little later on. Out of my own curiosity, I just want to know if I could possibly just put the cocoon on first, then the under blanket underneath around the tree, clip straight in for a quick setup and an even quicker release. There you go, just like that. Same on the other tree. I'll simply choose which of these I would prefer to hang the hammock. And I'm trying to hang at a 30 degree, which if you make this shape, with your finger and put it underneath, if both lines are touching finger and thumb, that's 30 degrees. So that ensures that the sag of the hammock is just nice. If you want a diagonal lie, of course you can adjust this how you want. I'm even thinking of putting a ridge line in, but not today. I'm going to crack on with this, because next on the list is the cocoon. So dark to film in the winter. This is a cocoon which would usually be the outer skin, so this would go over the top and under blanket. I'm putting this on first, it's my experiment. There's no law to say this needs to go on the outside, so I'm curious more than anything. The cocoon is nothing more than a big sleeping bag, big central zip, and an opening foot and head. And I'm going to feed the hammock through just by undoing the suspension, feeding it through, suspension back on, zip it up, job's a good one. So I'm going to pull out the cocoon, undo the beaner from the suspension, feed it through, and you notice I'm not losing sight of where I was originally hooked up from. And I put some shot cord here to stop the fabric from splitting, and I put that in as well and zip it up. So already I sort of have a top blanket and an under blanket all in one. So now I'm going to use the Snugpak under blanket as secondary insulation, and I'm going to set it up to its manufacturing instructions, which is pretty straightforward. On either end of the central lines you need to tie a slip knot, and I would start off at its loosest, and the channel lines, which are the outside lines around your tree. That's how the manufacturing instructions say to do so. But of course there's other ways of setting these up depending on your suspension. So this is it. Let's come to the end and we'll have a look at them lines. The two outer lines here are quite long. These are what go around a tree. These are slip knots that go into your suspension. If I pull one of these out, I'll quickly show you how to tie one. Now it's these that go into your suspension biner. Here's the end of the cord that is not attached to the hammock, and the way I remember it is Q9. So I form a letter Q first, a capital letter Q. 9Q is a way to remember this. So this tail has gone over. Always put your tail over and think 9Q. And make a number 9 on the same bit of line. So there is a number 9. There's a capital Q. 9 through Q. And pull it all taut. That's your slip knot. And I can pull extra length through this or tighten it off just by pulling. Okay, we're set up to put these straight into the suspension. Same suspension that the Snugpak COCOON is on, and there's them two little loops we made. I simply push each of them through here. Now these shock cords that came off the edges of the hammock is now just going to go around the tree at about the same height as the suspension. Of course you can tie this to the ridge line or any anchor point like I have here, but I'm going to do it like the manufacturer say. Round the tree, just tie it in a simple overhand bow knot, just like doing a shoelace. Something like that. I need to get the other side on. It's at this point here I need to take my boots off, slip in as it is, just to adjust the under blanket. I don't want too much tension on this bit here. I need it very loose, but we've got our slip knots and we've loosened it off as much as we can. And I can always tighten up them slip knots to bring the bottom of the under blanket up under the COCOON. That's pretty perfect. Pretty perfect. I'm going to raise the head side though. Okay, next and finally is the top quilt. I'll lay it out, we'll have a look at it, and this is going inside my COCOON. I have the under blanket under the COCOON. Alternatively, you can do it the other way around. You can fit the under blanket up first, and then the COCOON over that. I've tried both ways. Okay, this is the under quilt. Like I said, it's 1100 grams, 39 ounces. And when I got it in the post, it looked a bit small, and I was concerned to whether this would offer much in the way of top insulation. And I thought, well, push comes to shove, I'll bring a sleeping bag with me. But I have the COCOON as secondary insulation anyway. I'm going to throw this on the floor upside down, and at the end is a little foot box. It has these wings there on each side, they tuck under your body. And if we look lower down here, looks like a giant hood, but that's where your feet go. And this is the head end here, and I'm going to slide this down so I'm ready to get in. On the side of the Snugpak under blanket are little cinch cords, which I can pull the sides of the hammock up. They're very tight, and pull some cord through like that. This raises the sides against high winds. Do the other on this side as well, just like that. And I can even tie these off, which I like doing once I'm in. In with my feet, straight into the foot box. Wrap this around. Zip up. That's the COCOON zipped up. Check my under blanket isn't too tight, and even tie this off if I wanted. Now what I was thinking of doing is tying in these end closures here. I'll show you that right now actually. On the end of the under blanket are these webbing loops, and I think if I fasten these together I'll have a much better closure foot and head end just by locking these two webbing loops together. It might work, it might not, but I'm going to find out now. I'm just going to use a couple of snap beaners. One snap beaner through that webbing, another through here. Now there's no tension on this as far as I can see, and the same on the head end. Okay, so far there's hardly any tension on the end webbings there, but I'll find out when I get right in. If you have the inclination, and I certainly don't, you can disassemble all the elements: top blanket or top quilt, bottom blanket, COCOON, hammock, the webbing suspension, and put them all back in their individual stuff sacks. As far as I'm concerned, this is one unit set up, and it's going to stay in one unit. I just undo it from a tree, it goes straight into my holdall or your Bergen, whatever your preference is there. Of course, if you want to roll everything up stuff sack, it's okay. All of the elements you see here still allow room in a 100 litre either holdall, Bergen, for quite a substantial cook set. I'm using the Coleman's dual fuel, and that works in deep winter. I've never had a problem lighting that, unlike some of my other stoves. And the high gear pot as well, and that's for fast boiling. And if you know the sizes of these things, I'm holding it all in a respirator field pack, and it's quite sizable. So there's room for your cook kit, spare clothing, everything you've seen here. I'm going to try and get in and just see about this little modification here, see if we're up to par anywhere. Foot box, feet in, slide myself down, cozy up. Next, COCOON. Now then, so the little two beaners, top and bottom, make a big difference. One thing Snugpak under blankets haven't got is a compression at foot and head end. It's usually in the channel, it's shock cord, you pull it through and it tightens the gap between your feet and the dead air space. So just clipping them two has made a tremendous difference. There's absolutely no strain at all there. I quite like it. This system seems to be quite warm already. This is certainly good to 0, And when I say good to zero, I mean comfortable at. That is not its survival rating. Of course, none of this is rated by Snugpak for temperatures. It's a suck it and see kind of deal. If you want to bring an extra blanket, bring one. But for me, this system as it is, thrown straight into the pack, is going to be my go-to. Especially for 3 seasons of the year, that being fall, spring and summer. So I would recommend when you fit in the under blanket to have as much shock cord as you can when you tie your slip knot. Remember 9Q, and get it as long as you can. Don't be tempted to get this close up to your butt. Leave it, I'd say leave it hanging about ½ an inch under your butt, and it'll trap any dead air space. This, I don't think I would require a pad or a silver reflector, but they're that cheap and lightweight, and there's no volume in it. You could throw one in your pack if you were doubting any of this. And of course, I've got the difficult job here of lying here and testing this out for at least a good hour, maybe 2 hours, and see if I can get some sleep. And remember, I do all this dangerous hard work sleeping in this, so you don't have to. Remember, take care when you do your own stunts. Okay, any additional information there, I'm going to put in captions, but this, as it is just going straight back into my Bergen, or in my case, it's the Snugpak 100 litre kit monster, and it just happens to fit everything Snugpak really nice. As you can see, I didn't bother putting them back in the stuff sacks. I'm quite happy with that setup there. And I forgot to tell you, it was warm. I like it. So not done an overnighter with it just yet. I have other hammock systems I want to take out for the night before the Snugpak, and hopefully they'll be coming up soon. But it will get field tested. You got my word on that, because I quite like it all put together, just like you've seen. Until next time, take really good care of yourself, and happy winter trails.